It is time for the biggest video of the summer preseason. It's time for my Serie A predictions from 20th position to the champions of Italy in 2024. But first of all, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to join the Roma Theory Serie A Fantasy League, click this link, join this league with this passcode, and there you go. Create your team. Winner will win the 2024 Roma jersey. But don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's get into this. With 20th position, newly promoted side who won the Serie B last season, I am going with Frosinone. Poor investments. They are clearly the poorest team in this league. The little players which they've invested in are not going to change the dynamics of their season. They are a Serie B side. They're a yo-yo team. They go back in the Serie A and then they get relegated. And then they're back and then they're down. And then they're back and then they're down. But stay tuned for Anthony Oyono. He's a very young defender. A lot of potentials there. But I'm sorry, Frosinone. Poor investments lead to relegation. 20th position for them. Moving on to 19th position, I am going with Lecce. This might be a surprise, but if I were a Lecce fan, I would worry. You lost your manager Baroni, who was the reason you played some very good games last season. You lost your main striker Colombo. You lost your main defender Umtiti. It is not looking good. Adding on to that, you appointed a manager which has a zero Serie A experience. He trained Parma once and then he got sacked because he lacked Serie A innovations. I worry for them. Last season they played great football against some sides, drew against us, won against Milan and all of these teams, and maybe they can give a continuation to that. But looking at their situation 8 days before the season, it's not looking good. Second relegated team. And moving on to my third relegation team who will complete the relegation scrap. I'm going with Verona, yet another team who's playing the league last season. They were safe from the brink, winning the playoffs against Mbalanzola's Spezia. They got a new manager. They've got a new system. The same manager which trained Lecce last season. He had some good ideas. He played some good games. Can he experiment and bring all of that football style to Verona? I don't know. I think he had better players at Lecce than he has in Verona. However, be careful because Josh Doig and Gonge are going to be a reason, if there is a reason, that they're going to be safe. But I don't think they will save themselves from relegation. This is my relegation scrap. 17th position, I've gone with the oldest team in the country, Italy, with a manager who went from a club legend to a manager legend, bringing this team back to where it belongs. I'm speaking about Genoa. Good investments. They signed Retegui, a potential gem of the Italian national team. Their season is going to depend on him, however, meaning that if somehow he misses some games because of poor performances, because of injuries, Genoa can really sink down. Apart from him, their team is a pretty old team with the likes of Strootman, who've got experience but have got big question marks on fitness. I think they'll cope well and save themselves because they know this league well. They've been playing in this league a lot. It was a surprise that they got relegated last year. And I think with Gilardino on the bench, Italian national team legend, they'll do well, they'll save themselves, but they have to be careful. Genoa 17th. Moving on to 16th, Empoli. What a great philosophy. I admire this club. They've got an insane philosophy of investing in young players. They signed the likes of Caprile, young goalkeeper, Napoli goalkeeper, who then got loaned out to Empoli. They could be very close in loaning out Matteo Cancellieri from Lazio. They signed Gyasi from Spezia, who was Mbalanzola's partner. They signed the son of Maldini, who's young. They added all of these young gems on the likes of Baldanzi, insane talent. They have got an incredible young team. My only questions is, these young players lack experience. They have added a lot of new names and therefore it will take time for them to play well and cohese together. I think it will take time, but I think they're going to be safe. Because I like their team and they've invested really, really well. So Empoli 16th. And moving on to 15th, I've gone with Salernitana, our first game of the season. Much like Genoa, their season depends on one player, Boulaye Dia. Salernitana need to try and keep him in these last days of the transfer window, because if somehow they sell him, they could easily get relegated. Last season, they were a very bad side until Boulaye Dia kind of popped off and they signed Paulo Sousa. Very interesting manager. The day he got announced to the end of the season, he had one of the best records when it comes to keeping clean sheets and also wins and non-losses. I think he's a great manager with another great philosophy of football, but this only depends on Boulaye Dia. If he falls injured, if he gets sold, they're going to risk a lot. But I believe in them, and I think they're a great side. 15th for them. 14th position, the dark horses, according to me, Cagliari, with the man, the myth, the legend, the GOAT sitting on that bench, Claudio Ranieri, or actually Sir Claudio Ranieri. What a managerial career. Insane. Another massive milestone, bringing Cagliari back to the Serie A with a playoff in a 93rd minute goal. What do you want more from this legend? He will be the reason Cagliari are going to have a very successful season, being a newly promoted dark horse side. He's got all of the experience about this league, which he will implant in the veins of every single player. I like their investments. They are a very offensive side. Stay tuned for Luvumbo. Young players scored a goals galore in these friendly games. Lapadula with the Serie A experience. Shomurodov on loan. They're an offensive side. They focused their transfer window on buying attackers, and that could bring benefits. Fair play to them. 14th position for Cagliari. 13th position, Udinese, mid-table side. They're always a 13th position team. No matter what, they can sign Mbappe, they can sell every player they have. They will never get relegated, but they will never get higher than 13th position. It's their position. It's the Udinese position. Obviously, having the same owners as Watford, they normally exchange players this season. We've seen Kabasele, defender, adding layers to that defense, which was their biggest haunt last season. They've lost the likes of Pereira, but they've kept the likes of Beto. Deulofeu is back from his injuries. I think Beto and Deulofeu can be the reason Udinese can try and get higher positions. But this is their tombstone. This is their graveyard. 13th position is the Udinese position. And 12th position, similar to Udinese, mid-table team, Bologna. A lot of their season will depend on their big man, Arnautovic. He's publicly said that he's always injured and that he has difficulties in training with all of the fitness problems which he has. And Roma and Inter want him. Inter leading the race, wanting to sign him as a second striker. Arnautovic wants to move. His agents have told Bologna that they have to keep their promises. If they lose Arnautovic, they have no attackers apart from Joshua Zirkzee on loan from Bayern Munich. Can it be a surprise? Can it not be a surprise? I think he lacks Serie A experience. But the good thing about Bologna is that they kept the core of the team. They've kept the manager Thiago Motta, and they've not bought many players, and they haven't even sold many players. They've kept the core of a team which last season almost scraped Conference League. And if they continue with the roots that they implanted last year, I think they can have a very successful season. 12th position for Bologna. 7th position for Sassuolo. They're a very fast side with the likes of Berardi, Loriente. They've lost their big man, Fratesi, which was the glue of their midfield. But they bought a lot of young players with that money. They've bought Volpato, Misori. They've got a great young player philosophy. And they also have a very fast team. I think if you merge these things together, you can only have benefits. With Pinamonti up front, I think you'll score double-figure goals this season. 11th position for the green team of the Italian league. 10th position in the middle of the entire table. I've gone with Torino. I am worried for them, but I think they will use all of their experience and intelligence that Juric has to get in the middle of everything. Rock middle. But I'm not liking the way they've tackled this summer window, because they could lose the likes of Ricci and Singo, their best players, and they've not signed many players. Torino could really be the flop of this season. I've put them pretty high because 10th position for Torino isn't bad. It's not that great, but it's where they belong and it's their objective. Their objective is definitely going to be trying to get Conference League. It's going to be very hard because teams are obviously better than them, but they can try. But I'm not liking their investments because they've been really, really poor. And moving on to 9th position, I've gone with Fiorentina. A lot of great signings, Nzola, Arthur Melo from Juventus. However, they could lose the likes of Amrabat. They've lost Cabral. They could lose Jovic. It's a mix because they've signed a lot of good players, but they also could sell a lot of the big players. I think Fiorentina 3 weeks ago, I would have predicted them a bit higher, but obviously with Juventus being kicked out of the Conference League, they're admitted back in it. And I think they'll have a sense of revenge. You know, they lost in the final with a very bad defensive error. They will want revenge. They will want to try and stop Aston Villa and Unai Emery, who are the clear favourites. They can do it with the investments which they had. And I think they're gonna use that revenge and gonna be less concentrated in the league. Similar to this season. I expect a similar season to the past season for the purple side. So 9th position for them. 8th position, another wonderful season for Monza. However, I predict them to struggle at the start. They will have difficulties in getting reintegrated back in a league which is not their league. And also the loss of their president, Silvio Berlusconi, which brought the spirit to this team, investing a lot of money to it, dedicating a lot of time to it, will definitely affect them. But they've kept the core of their team. They've kept the likes of Carlos Augusto, Pessina, Petagna. They've lost the likes of Rovella, who guided their midfield last season, but they've signed some experienced rich players from Inter, players who reached the Champions League final against Man City last year, D'Ambrosio and Gagliardini. I think it's going to be a good one. Palladino showed us that their season and their jump from relegation positions to top positions was all due to him. And I think he'll continue this. He was loyal because he had a lot of offers, but rejected them all to continue his project and experience at Monza. And that, I think, will lead to a lot of fruitful benefits. So 8th position for Monza. Could they get Conference League? 7th position, I would have never wanted to predict this. But Roma. I'm worried. I'm worried because 8 days until the start of the new season, we still don't have a striker. This is a season which contracts of both our manager and our general director could expire. The Fredkins, we don't know if they want to sell or if they want to continue. It's going to be a very chaotic season. A lot of things can change from now until the start of the league by signing the likes of Renato Sanchez, Duvan Zapata, Marcos Leonardo to add to the wonders of Paulo Dybala. We've added experience with Aouar and Ndika, but will it be enough? Also, I think we'll focus more on Europa League because we will have that sense of revenge in that league for an association which stole that trophy from us. Mourinho will want revenge in the Europa League. I think to get top 4, we need a Jose masterclass. Otherwise, better teams are invested in better signings. And yet again, top 4 will be very, very hard, if not impossible. And 6th position, Europa League for Lazio. They've lost their biggest player. One of the biggest players of their history, Sergej Milinkovic-Savic. But they've spent that money very wisely by signing Kamada, Isaacson. They've almost completed the move of Ricci. You know, they've invested in a lot of players and only got rid of one. And that all normally brings a lot of benefits. Let's not forget that last season Lazio got second. The great team, Zaccagni, Immobile, Romagnoli in defence. I hate to say all of this, but Lazio are better than us right now. They've invested in better money. They've spent money more wisely. They've spent more money in general. But again, I don't think they'll get top 4 because there are better teams in the league. So 6th position for them. 5th position for a blue and black side. Will it be Inter? Will it be Atalanta? It is indeed Atalanta. What a great transfer window. They've cleared their scraps with Duvan Zapata and Muriel and a lot of other players being called out of the project. they've invested some great money in a very smart transfer window. They've hijacked the Scamacca deal from both Inter and Roma. They could potentially sign De Ketelaere, which could have a rebirth season in this league. Adding on to Lookman, De Roon, Cut Miners, Scalvini, Atalanta, with 1/2 more signings, can be league contenders. They are scary this season, but I've gone with 5th because we gotta be realistic and there are better sides in this league. 4th position, I've gone with AC Milan. They've lost Tonali, but they've bought a lot of players, a lot of very young players. They've got a new philosophy of investing in very, very, very young players. Samuel Chukwueze, Pulisic, Loftus-Cheek. They've also signed Reinders from AZ Alkmaar, which faced Lazio and West Ham in the Conference League. What a great smart move. Losing one player and using that money to get like 6 different players. They can be league contenders without a doubt. However, when you buy a lot of different players to recreate your team almost, it will take 1/2 years, if not more, to get adapted and to win a league. There are better organised teams. There are better connected teams. Look, they've got the likes of Leao and Giroud and all of these players, Tomori, Mike Maignan. They are genuinely scary. But adding a lot of new players in the first season doesn't normally bring benefits. In the long term, it will bring a lot of benefits. 3rd position, will they keep their reigning champion crown? No, they will not. Napoli in the Champions League, but they will not win the league again. When you appoint a new manager, in this case Rudi Garcia, it only means one thing. You restart with a new project. And to win the league in Rudi Garcia's first year is going to be a miracle, which is not going to happen. Also, after you win a league with a team like Napoli after 33 years, when the last time they've won it was with Diego Maradona, players are going to lose motivation. Osimhen and Kvaratskhelia, clip this, I'm going to predict this now, are not going to have a very similar season to last season. They just won't. It's a law of football. They've lost Kim, they're still a massive side, but Napoli 3rd. Number 2, number 1, 2nd position for Juventus. A lot of people are saying that this is the downfall of Juventus. But Juventus this season are going to claim revenge after all the point deduction from last season, after being banned from European Cups. Is it going to be a problem if they don't play the Conference League? No, it's going to be a massive benefit. They only have one tournament, well, and the Coppa Italia, but one main tournament to focus on this season. And it's to bring that league title back in their cabinet after so much time. They've got great players. Vlahovic, Chiesa. I mean, Pogba if he's fit. Adding on to this, they've signed Timothy Weah, which I think can explode this season. Kostic. They have got, arguably, the best team in this league. However, Inter is going to win the league because of their midfield. Samardžić, Barella, Frattesi, Çalhanoğlu, Mkhitaryan. Their midfield is the reason they're going to lift the trophy. They are clearly the best team in Italy, and the fact that they have reached the Champions League final explains this. They've had a very successful transfer window. They've bought Sommer in goal with a lot of experience, Lautaro Martinez up front. They don't need Lukaku. Inter's going to lift it. Inter is going to lift this trophy this season. And as much as I hate to say it, because I completely and utterly hate them, they're the best team in the league, and they will show it to every single Serie A fan. So ladies and gentlemen, this was my Serie A prediction 2023-2024. I need everybody in the chat to let me know the 3 relegation sides, the champions and the top 4 teams. Let me know all of that. I'll be very curious to read and respond to all of your comments. So yeah, take care. I hope you enjoyed this video. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. 8 days to go and Roma is back. Simo out.